It was quite shocking to discover that I was rated a top professor at a junior college. First, I called my wife over to the computer and said, "Look, you see, I'm not that bad. I'm pretty good." I think it's nice to be acknowledged for the work that you do. It's not the most important thing to me. The important thing to me is to see my students succeed. I've been teaching at BMCC since 1981, when BMCC was 5 separate buildings in Midtown Manhattan. I think the students here are unique because this is like working in the United Nations. I've been here almost 30 years and have had probably students from every realm of the globe, so I enjoy the fact that they're individuals and they bring a great deal of diversity, opinions, anecdotes, stories. Makes my job very easy. In 1974, I had the opportunity to pursue a dream of mine. I sent off an audition tape to a radio station here in New York because I had taken several courses in my own studies in broadcasting. And I was hired on the spot to be a radio disc jockey for the #1 rock and roll radio station in New York here. And the only reason I didn't pursue that was because the hours were 2 to 6 in the morning. It was a bit difficult, but I enjoyed being on the air and gained some notoriety. The nice thing about working in radio is no one really knows who you are, so they did not hire me for my looks. When the students walk into Speech 100, they are trepidatious and fearful and don't want to be there. And because it is a required course, my entire philosophy of teaching this class is to make it less worrisome and try to impart to them that speech is an essential art. I believe it was Ashley Montague that once said, "Communication is the essential human connection." And that's my focus, trying to get the students to overcome their fear of public speaking. It's not really speech class, it's a course in communications. And when they walk out of that room, hopefully they will hone some skills that will help them in their future career, their interpersonal relationships, as well as all aspects of life. I run my classroom well because I've got lots of experience doing this, working with high school students. And I should say that I enjoy teaching here at BMCC, especially in the evening, because many of those students are self-motivated. Perhaps many of them have had a second opportunity to come back to school. Almost all of my students are full-time employees, so I understand what it's like to work a full day and come into my classroom. My ultimate desire, and the reason I probably reflected in the results of what the students write, is that they have to discover their gifts, and those gifts are the ability to think logically, think on their feet, be able to organize a presentation through, let's say, outlining format, and then be able to field questions from their peers. That's something that's a life skill, and so I try to somehow instill that. But I think many of the reasons that the students write these nice things, I have a great sense of humor. I try to bring that into the classroom, and I think it's very important for educators to make time for their students, and I attempt to do that. Any student that I see that has or perhaps has some difficulty, I encourage them to meet with me, and it is my greatest pleasure as part of my job, I think, to help them succeed. I think the ability to speak well, to have some type of skill in speech is important. No, let me say it's vital because of the technology we have today. I'm well aware that students are on the computer, are texting. All too often I know younger children come home from school, their latchkey kids have no one to talk with, and immediately run to the internet and lose those social skills of communication. They talk to people online. And so in my classroom, I try to incorporate that technology. I'm a big believer in when you make presentations, you use a technology. I would say 85 to 90% of my Speech 100 students use the whiteboard, use PowerPoint. We encourage that. Some students who aren't as skilled in the computer area still use the blackboard, still create dioramas or charts. That's a big part of making a presentation, and it's a requirement with one of our speeches they use a visual aid. I try to somehow give them the impact that the face-to-face verbal communication is what really matters. No matter how skilled you are at texting and internet access, you really have to sit down and we talk about job interviews, we talk about the ability to ask for promotions and raises on the job. That's all inherent in speech communication. And so in terms of bringing this to closure, I think what we try to do is have students be able to create options for gain, for mutual gain on the job. And that means having the ability to sit down and put your ideas into words, into thoughts, and come across as being educated, and logical, and as President Perez says, discover the gift of communication. That's really essential. Being confident as a public speaker is not everyone's bailiwick. I must say there are many students that I have that still fear it and are still worried about it. But the one golden rule is that if I talk to you one-to-one, some students who are scared say, Professor Blank, can I give my speech just to you in your office and not in front of 30 individuals? What we try to do is we try to make them feel that they are talking one-to-one. My ability to deal with diversity and being afraid is to sit down with you and talk to you one-on-one. We have students that have anxiety and panic attacks. We'll work that through. It's my job to work with each student individually. I wish I had more time to have office hours to meet with these students, but most of them do come through, whether it requires a rehearsal with me or with someone else. I believe in collaboration, so students do work together. We try to team them up. And as I said earlier, this is an international melting pot here at BMCC. And so if I've had one semester, I've had 3 students from Poland or 2 students from Albania. I try to pair them up. I'm a big believer in teamwork. And so with the idea of working together, they work through their problems and they're able to do a great presentation. I think that once they have some level of success, it builds. And so perhaps the first speech, they're shaking a little bit, but the second speech is a little less, and maybe the third, it's gone. Trying to channel that fear into energy to move forward, that's my job. If I can teach them how to channel that trepidation, they're all good. They all do very well.